Hello there. Thanks for joining us. And today my guest is a very special person, a very special Nigerian. And for the first time in a long time on this program, she is a woman. My guest is a professor at the University of Nigeria in Nsukka. She has, I think it's just, I'll talk about 2 master's degrees, but I think there are some others. She holds a PhD, and she's also a graduate of the Harvard Business School. Well, in the course of our discussion with her, we'll know how the journey started and how she got to where she is today. My pleasure to welcome Professor Uche Azikiwe, wife of the first president of Nigeria, Nnamdi Azikiwe. Professor, you're welcome to our program.
Thank you, Obiora.
Let me start. You know, when anybody talks about Professor Uche Azikiwe, what comes to mind is the wife of the Great Zik of Africa. So let me start our discussion from there. When you saw Zik for the first time, was it love at first sight, or was there something else?
It wasn't love at first sight because there was nothing like love between us the first time I met him. I met him for my scholarship. He gave me a scholarship to further my education. That was the first time we met. Although the first time he saw me was when we were dancing to receive them when they came to Afikpo for a political campaign.
This was which year?
1960-something. In the 60s.
Yeah.
So, but the close meeting was when I came in to finalize my program to go into the secondary school because he gave me scholarship.
Okay. So, that was your first.
Yes.
From that distance, how did you perceive him?
I know as a little girl growing up in the village or in the town at Enugu, I grew up at Enugu, Lagos and the village, he wasn't a human being. From the stories we heard, he disappears, he holds the key to the lagoon, the Oyibo people are afraid of him, he blows English, a lot of stories. So it was like a little girl coming to a god, a demigod, before a demigod. That was 1964. And I know that I was shivering within me because I don't think I was the first person, the only person that was given scholarship. What I later learned was that once in a while, end of the year or beginning of the school year, all those that he gave scholarship will come to collect their school fees and so on and so forth. Mine was the first time to come and initiate and start my own school at Nsukka.
Okay, let's go back to the beginning. You said you spent growing up, your growing up period in Enugu, in Lagos, and in the village. Where were you born? Were you born in the village, or
yes,
your parents were already out of the village?
My parents were living in Calabar. Okay. In good old days, the policemen, they are polygamous. And when they marry 2 or 3, a wife gets pregnant, you go home to the village. After having your baby, you come back to the station. Maybe by then, the other wife would have taken in. He will come back. So I think when I was due, my mom came back to our village, Afikpo. I was born in Afikpo. After that, then, she went back to Calabar with me. From there, as I was growing up, I remember that we lived at the police barrack along Ugui Road in Enugu.
In Enugu, okay.
Yes. So that's where I started my primary school. And then we moved. My father was transferred. My father was a policeman. And he rose to the rank of a sergeant major. And in those good old days, sergeant major was, I think, the highest post unless you have gone to secondary school or standard 6, you can go above Sergeant Major. So in all the barracks we lived, in Enugu and in Lagos, my father was in charge. He was the chief there. So growing up in Enugu, I went to Salvation Army Primary School there at
Morehouse,
yes. After that, when my father was transferred to Lagos, I think my father opened one of the best barracks built then in the 60s. That was called Queen's Barrack in Apapa. So he opened that barracks and was in charge. When we got there, it wasn't easy to find a school for us. I think in the end, we had to go to Ajeromi Central School or something like that. Ajeromi Central School. It is in Lagos that my father retired and went back home. All of us, we went back home from Lagos, and I completed my primary school at Afikpo, Presbyterian School, Afikpo. It was there in Afikpo that during the campaign, my father now went into politics. From stories, I learned that he also worked when he was in Lagos for Zik, or I don't know, but the story is that once in a while, the police people will come, for campaign. At least he knew Zik before me.
Okay. So
during campaign, 1961 or 62 or 63, I don't know the year, they came for campaign. And I'm a good dancer. I dance Nkuma.
Do you still dance?
I still dance. Anytime. I got the one I can. So there were 4 of us, 4 girls, that danced that day. My elder sister was because she's now late, the leading dancer, and I come last, 4 of us. My sister leads, and I will come at the rear. And you know that dancing, the leader and the rear dancers are the best. So it was after the dancing, during the campaign, that a representative from my area, Chief Nnamdi, was contacted by Zik. And then that those who danced, that he want to help. By then, I think I had taken my standard 6. My sister was trained as a teacher by my father. Then the other lady, the other girl, I've forgotten. I don't know what happened to the other 2. But it just happened that my sister and myself were the people Zik
gave scholarship.
Gave scholarship. My sister, he gave her work in Lagos, in the office, I don't know where. But I was the one that was given scholarship to KRSS. So he found the school. He got in touch with the Reverend Sisters in KRSS in Soka. And I was admitted to do my secondary education there, which was interrupted by the Civil War. So 1965 to 67, we all left Nsukka, went back home, and then the war raged. We moved from one place to the other until after the war. I got in touch again with him to inform him that the war is over. Is the scholarship still on? And he said yes. And then, instead of coming back to KRSS, because of the distance and the cost, and he wasn't in the country, he was still in London, I had to go to Holy Child Secondary School, Sharon, Abakaliki. Yeah, that's where I completed my secondary school after the war. Then it was during that, after the war, that the meeting moved from father, daughter, or mentor, whatever. So after the war, it seems as if he got interested. Because personally, not even in my wildest dream, I will never dream of marrying Nnamdi Azikiwe. It wasn't in my dictionary.
It wasn't in your radar.
It wasn't in my dreams. It wasn't in anything. All I wanted is education, and then that's all. So after the war, he now said,
You were still in secondary school?
Yes, after the war in Sharon. He said, maybe after school, what would I want to do? I said, nothing. Because that was what I was always saying when we were playing at home. My elder brothers, I would say, I will be a nurse, I will choke you with my needle and so on. I said, nothing. He said, okay, that he will arrange to send me to the hospital in London, where the two sisters, either three sisters or cousins or relations that he trained as nurses, were trained in London. I said, okay, fine for me. And then there was the niece, Franca, the last child of the only sister Owele had. Franca and myself would have gone abroad to, I don't know whether Franca was going for nursing, but my arrangement was for nursing. It was in the process to arrange for that nursing that the issue of getting married came up. Then, immediately after the war, to show how kind he was, I don't know, but I know that he sent my father money. He sent school fees, my school fees, to complete my secondary education. All those he had something to do with. He sent them money to enable them recover from the war. Yeah. So he sent my father some money. I don't know how much it was, but I think either twice or once, immediately after the war. And it helped the family to stabilize and take off from the war devastation. So after the secondary school, and then when I went for preparation to go for this nursing school, he said, okay, why don't you stay action now? Let's see. I'll get in touch with the hospital in London. It seems that God had another plan. Before the arrangement for the hospital for training as a nurse, something else came in, and we became married.
Tell me how you felt the first time he suggested that he would want to be your husband, and this was a human being getting married to God. That was the way it always was. Because even as a little boy too, I heard the stories about holding the key to the ocean and all that. So at that point that Zik made that proposal, what happened to you?
I think this question has been asked severally, and I said no.
You told him no?
Yes, I said no, because it wasn't what I came in for. I wanted to go further, to read, to be somebody. And I can't imagine myself marrying somebody like that. You know, it wasn't in my mind at all. Marriage was never crossed my mind. So when he proposed, and I still remember where he proposed, it was in Lagos. When he came back from London after the war, he had a residence, a house by the government, given to him by the government along Queen's Drive. Victoria, is it Ikoyi? Queen's Drive, Ikoyi. So I accompanied him to Lagos in the course to arrange for the trip to London. And the question popped up, I want to marry you, or was it, will you marry me? And I said, no. That was my first reaction. But he didn't say anything else. So when we came back to Onitsha, you know, I started thinking over it. I said, what happened? What really happened? Then I think maybe he asked, why did I say no? I said, I want to go to London to, as you said, you send me to go and do nothing. He said, okay. With time, that's why I always conclude that it is divine intervention. I think it is God's plan, and there is no way you can change it. I couldn't change it, because when I said no, remember, I think I was 26 years. So I want to make it clear again. They normally say 16 years. I wasn't 16 years. I've gone through secondary school that was interrupted by 3 years. So I was born 1947, February 4th, 1947. So 1993, I was 26 years. So I wasn't a child. 1973.
Okay, 73.
Yes, 1973. I was 26 when we got married. So when we came back from Lagos, that was when I started reviewing the question in Lagos. And then...
Did you talk to your parents or talk to your friends?
Me? I talked only to my elder sister, my late elder sister. After a while, I said, this is what... Because we call him Oga. This is what Oga asked me if I will marry him. And my sister said, what did you say? I said, no.
What was her reaction?
She didn't come out openly. She just laughed over it. Because that's the same sister he gave a job in Lagos. So, but there was no other, will you marry me again? It seems as if within me, I came to realize maybe this is what God wants, so I don't know. So with time, the next thing I heard, I want to go to see your parents, I want to go and do your traditional blah, blah, blah. I didn't say no again.
Anyway, we'll come back to that story.
Okay.
So where did you now pick up with the education?
Yes, in Sharon. The schooling after the war was terrible. If you go to the dormitory, we were cooking for ourselves, no money, no beds, nothing. We used carton. We spread carton on the 6-spring bed that we met in the school. So I met many girls, some living in Enugu, some of them my classmates living in Abakaliki and other places. So when I got married, I got to know that some of them are in the University of Nigeria in Nsukka. Anyway, before then, I told him that when we got married, that after having my children, I'd like to go back to school. He said, no problems. So by chance, I met one of them, close friends in the secondary school. And I think she was in the 3rd year or 2nd year, because we left Sharon 1971. Maybe they got admission 72. So by 73, 74, 73, I've had my baby December. And then I met one of them. It rekindled our lives in the secondary school. And I said, I think it was Hilda Ndulue or Ngozi Onyedika, the Onyedika of NTA, Ngozi Nsien. So they told me they're in the university. I said, eh? And, it clicked. I said, okay, university community, no problem. So they visit me during weekends, we chat and remember the good old days. Many of my classmates in secondary school. So that sort of said, well, I saw my classmate 3rd year, 2nd year, and so on, and I'm still in the house with school certificate. It just dawned on me that I have to go back to school. Frankly speaking, he was eager for me to go to school. So when I had my 2nd baby, the one living here, 1975, I said, I think it's time. By then, they have graduated and left the university,
your friends.
My friends. And I said, I think I have to go back to school. We were the last set that took the common entrance. In those good old days, each university have their common entrance exam. We were the last set, 1977. I took the first one when I had work in 1975. In short, I went straight from maternity, where I had my baby, to take the exam. So I didn't make it that first attempt. Then it was 1977 that I got admission into the university to read Education English.
Okay. I mean, when looking back in what Nigeria is today, one would have said you were married to the Zik of Africa and you failed to get admission, and he didn't do anything about it.
It was common entrance. I didn't make it. And he didn't do anything. He didn't say a word.
To anybody?
To anybody. And I didn't even ask, "Oh, can you help me?" I knew that I didn't make it. There was no point going to beg or doing something. I had to repeat. No, I had to repeat the next year.
So when you graduated, what happened? You elected to go back to the university?
When I graduated, what really happened also was when I became bored at home, doing nothing, I started making trouble, you know. I don't like staying at home. What would you want me to be doing? He said, okay, let's find something, somewhere you'll be going. I think he talked to either Board of Education. I started teaching in a primary school in Nsukka. And it was during that period that I sat for the exam in 1977 and got admission. So I just taught 1 year in the primary school. Okay. So, and then after 4 years, I did education English. After 4 years, I was posted straight by State Education Board to a secondary school where I did my youth service. I went for my youth service in Ogu. Okay. I spent the 1 month, or is it 4 weeks, for training in Ogu. It will show you that he is someone who obeys the law, because some people will say, why don't you go and press button, and you wouldn't go for the youth service training. I went for the youth corps at Ogu for 4 weeks. We spent there. Came back before we were posted to the secondary school. So, I sort of, within me, I wanted to be somebody. I don't want to be under the shadow of Zik, Nnamdi Azikiwe. Yes. Because some people were saying, why is she wasting her time going to school when she's sitting on top of money? But there was no money there. People didn't know that what we had there was just name, and goodwill. So one of them would say, Uche, why are you wasting your time? Why would you want to suffer? I said, it's not suffering. I want to be myself. And it is based on my upbringing. My father was a disciplinarian. My mother was very hardworking, industrious. In short, they share school fees, those of us that were going to school, because my 2 elder brothers went to Metropolitan College, Onitsha. During beginning of the term, my father will call my mom, bring your own share of the school fees. My mother will bring, because he had retired, so he has cause to say, bring your own share. So my mother was very industrious. She's a trader, she's a farmer, she sews, she does brukutu, BKT, Joro, all these things, whatever she can to make sure that whenever my father calls on her to bring her own share of the school fees, she will do that. And my father was a disciplinarian. I think it sort of prepared me. You don't step out of the house during holidays in my father's house. You do not go out. Immediately you get into the compound, you can just go fetch water, go to the market, go on errand, but to just dress up and walk, you want to go and visit your friends. It never happened to me. Immediately I come back on holidays, it's inside the compound.
So when you finished your youth service, did you go back to the secondary school?
Yes, teaching.
Yes.
I started teaching in the secondary school. After 5 years, then I said I have to go. And the story was that first degree doesn't mean anything nowadays.
Yes.
You better, if you want to be a principal, want to move to that stage, you must have a second degree. So I went back. It was easy for me because all these 4 years I was going from my house to the school. It was during the degree period, my last 81, that I pleaded with him to allow me stay in the hostel. During the day, I will come back, look after the house, then I go back and sleep in they gave me a room in the sisters, where they give Reverend Sisters accommodation in Okpara Hall. So I kept doing that until after my degree. I thank God I made 2-2, combining everything, child, taking care of the child. Because there was one thing he told me, he said, yes, I want you to go to school, but remember you have a lot on your plate. You are a mother, you have 2 children, they are still growing. You are a wife to me. You are also my mother. So you have to combine. And then a housekeeper. I wouldn't want house help, stewards, or cook to take care of my home or my meal, even though we have them, but you must see to what is being prepared. So it wasn't easy to combine all these things. So when I was able to make it my undergraduate, I said, oh, I have to go further. So I applied for, master's was part-time. Okay. Yes, it was part-time. You just register and go to lectures during exams. They can have your lectures during holidays when the regular undergraduates are on holidays. So it was a little bit easy for one to manage the home and the education. So we went, I had my second master's. In the course of that second master's, this issue of gender inequality came in. That was when the United Nations started this Women Decade, 1980, is it 85, 82 to a period of 10 years, that the United Nations dedicated for women. I got interested. That was what led me to doing the second master's. I got interested because my first master's was in curriculum language, since I did education English, so that I would teach English all along. So when this gender issue came in and I became interested, for me to do my PhD in gender studies, it can't be based on the curriculum language I had. So I had to move over to do another master's, education, sociology of education / gender studies. That's why I had the second master's, which now enabled me to do my PhD in sociology of education, gender studies.
Okay, we'll take a break, and when we return, we look at your life with the Great Zik. Don't go away, my guest, Professor Uche Azikiwe. I also forgot to say that she has the national honor of MFR. Don't go away. Glad to know you're still with us on In Your Own Words. My guest today is Professor Uche Azikiwe, wife of the Great Zik of Africa. Prof, you know, and I'm sure this is what happens everywhere you go. I'm Professor Uche Azikiwe, and it's like, tell us about the Great Zik. You got married to him in 1973, yes. Which means you were not with him while he was president.
No.
But you shared a lot of stories. What did he tell you about the agitation for Nigeria's independence?
A lot. He said a lot, and I also read a lot on my own about the agitation for Nigerian independence. When he was, according to him, when he was in US, and Lincoln, and so on and so forth, he felt that there is nothing that can stop an African from being like the white men. Because according to him, in Lincoln, he was competing with all the whites and everything. So what's the difference? Why is it that they look down on black people? One of the tauntings that, according to him, hurts him so much was when they go to the zoo. He said other colleagues, African Americans, or not even Oyibo, they would say Zik, because that's where the Zik started, when they couldn't pronounce Azikiwe. Zik, have you come to see your cousin? That's monkey in the zoo. Have you come and see your cousin? Because initially he wanted to fight. After a while, he said no. So within him, he said, I must make sure, I must prove to the white people or to Americans that blacks can make it in any field. And that was why he did law, he read sociology, almost all programs, just to garner the wealth of knowledge that's what he needed to fight when he gets back to Nigeria. And that was one thing. When, I don't know, he said he applied for a job, and because of his color, they turned him down. And from that day, he dropped the name Benjamin, because his name is Benjamin Nnamdi Azikiwe, that he has nothing to do with English name again. That was when he dropped the name Benjamin and said, my name now is Nnamdi Azikiwe, no more Oyibo English name. So when he came back, first to Ghana, because he wasn't able to get something doing in Nigeria in 1930, I think 30 something, when he left, because he didn't want to spend any day beyond, one day beyond his graduation. Yes, education and working there. So when he got to Ghana, and then he started his agitation, independence, setting Africans free, and that was landed him in trouble in the Morning Post, I think Morning Post in Ghana. Luckily, they did not jail him. He now said, okay, let me go back home to Nigeria and start my own paper. And that was what led him to come back. And, newspaper here, he had chains of newspapers scattered all over Nigeria: Kanu, Port Harcourt, Lagos, Enugu, Onitsha. What for? He said, it is through communication and information that you can make people understand that this is right, this is wrong, or this is the best thing for us to do. That was why he had all these news. And he made it as a journalist. He had news. Everybody, just that unfortunately West African Pilot is no more there. But I'm sure if you go to London, you will see copies of West African Pilot there to see what he used his newspaper to do. What for? I want my people to be free. I want my people to be free. That's all. You can now go. We are ready to take care of ourselves. So I think God had prepared him to lead Nigeria. And you see, he was not just Nigeria. Even Africa, West African Pilot, the bank, African Continental Bank. His view was beyond Nigeria. Yeah. He was a Pan-African. And when people are talking of Pan-Africanism and they don't mention him, I get sad, because he was the one who initiated this. The Nkrumah they always mention, Nkrumah was mentored by Zik. It was Zik who gave Nkrumah address to go to Lincoln when he was in Ghana. Yes, it was Zik when he came back to Ghana and so on that he now made Nkrumah to go to Lincoln to study and so on. So I think God prepared him to be a leader, to lead Nigeria and Africa into freedom.
Let me ask you, is Zik a normal human being? Was he a normal human being?
Later on, I found
wakes up in the morning,
yes,
cries.
Yes. When I was going for this NYSC, I saw something dropping. I said, what's the matter? I'll come back. He said, why? How can you leave the children, everybody? I said, it's just 1 month. I'll be coming back every weekend from Ogu during the orientation. Zik was
an emotional person.
He was. But these big men, they try to stifle their feelings when they're in the public. They stifle their feelings. Because if they go soft, then the followers.
What would they do?
So the best thing for them is to put up that spirit.
How did you cope with Zik's older children? Because he had children before.
Yes.
You got married to him.
Yes. That's another story. Obiora. Let's forget about that. The Lord is in control. Okay. My children are okay. We are fine. Yes. Okay. Yes.
So, the other thing, you were already with him before what I call his second missionary journey in politics.
Yes.
The 1979. Mm-hmm. Why did he want to go back to politics? I mean, here he was deified by everyone. What drove him?
When the little I know, one thing is that I didn't support that attempt. I didn't. Because I liked the quiet way we were living. Very quiet, 24/7. He doesn't go out. Then when I started going to school, that's only when I leave the house. all along we all stayed together. So when this issue of coming 1979, I said no. I think it was pressure from our people, pressure. I noticed that Nwobodo, all these, the NPP people, they were all streaming. From morning till 12 midnight, people will be coming, you know, pleading with him to come out. They need a leader. There is nobody that can shield them, that can stand, and then they queue behind, and so on. I think after a while, he just succumbed to come out and say, let me give them that leadership. I think that's what happened.
Was he a restless person?
No, very calculated, very calm. He can sit on a scorpion and you wouldn't know. Very calm and calculated. That's why he survived in US, survived in Nigeria. According to him, he ran marathon for Lincoln University barefooted. Cold weather, the road, barefooted, and won marathon. And another one, when he got to Lincoln, according to him, there was no fees because the father had retired, and then nowhere to get funding for his education. He went into boxing. He went into boxing.
And boxed his way through school.
But after, he said, there's money in boxing, according to him, but you will suffer for that money. At a tournament, he said the opponent gave him one blow below the plexus, and he saw stars, 20 stars. He woke up, and the trainer was saying, Zik, get up, Zik, get up. He looked at the man and said, this man doesn't know that I'm the only son of my mother. I'm the only son of my mother. If I die here, my mother is gone. He removed his gloves. No more. He said, there's money in boxing, but if you don't take care, you will die there.
They said he had a large sense of humor.
Very, 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 very large sense of humor. For instance, when we have visitors, and I present cola, in Onitsha, yes, I forgot to know, I hold the title in Onitsha. The highest association, society for women in Onitsha is the Utuodo, prestigious Utuodo society. And I've been initiated into that society. And my title name is Enyi Nwanonako. So when visitors come and you present cola, he will break the cola and give you the wife or the woman that brought the cola, your own share of the cola. You have to genuflect to receive the cola, not. He will just say, be careful. I know that you've tied up yourself to have a shape. Be careful so that whatever you use in tying yourself will not snap. You know, and to the hearing of everybody, what do? He said, okay. He was humorous. He was humorous. And I think even late MT Mbu will never, I don't think there's anything that will make MT Mbu not to be behind Zik in anything that Zik is doing. He will always say, Zik is a leader. Humor, he's a good listener. He will listen to every opinion before decision is taken. Calm and calculated, intelligent, and so on and so forth. So I think he was an all-rounder.
He was such a busy man, you know. He was such an important man. Did he have time for the family, for the kids?
I think I was lucky to come into his life when he had time for the family. To be frank with you, no politician has time for the family because they're always on the go, they're always having meetings. We always complain now that when do they have their meetings? At night, nocturnal. That's why most women are not part of their meetings at night. I wasn't there in his life but from experience, I know that if you marry a politician, just decide on your own that you have to take care of your family, take care of the children while your husband is there. If you want your husband to be with you, then he will not make it in politics.
Did he ever share with you his regrets in life?
Were
there things that he would have wanted to do other ways if he had a second life or something?
I can't recall, but all I know is that after the war is what Nigeria looks like then. It's not what he dreamt about when he came back. He thought that by 1970, Nigeria will be leading the world, or let me say Africa. It's true that we call ourselves giant of Africa, but it's indeed an action. We are not giant of Africa in many ways. So I think that's the only way he always complained. But he never lost hope. He just said Nigeria will still make it, but this is not what I struggled for or what I expected.
Okay, let's leave Zik for a while. You know, you went to read a course in gender.
Yes.
And all these years, you've been a strident voice
Yes.
on gender issues. Do you think that the average Nigerian woman has been given a proper opportunity to be what he or she wants to be?
No. It hasn't even been done in developed world like America and Britain. Women are not given the opportunity of freedom. How much more Nigeria, Africa?
What is the problem? You know, you talked about women not participating in politics as much as they should because the men are always having the meetings in the night.
In the night, yes. Yes, culture.
Was it calculated to keep the women away?
You know, the world is a man's world. They will quote the Bible, Adam and Eve. God removed Adam's rib. And then I normally give them a jab. If God removed Adam's rib, it then means women are stronger. You are just ordinary dust. Men, dust. But woman has a bone there in her. Yes, that's what the Bible says, and that's what they use. I don't think our women have been given enough time, freedom, opportunity. No, they haven't. Like in sociology, it's culture. Culture will come in, religion will come in, and then the home. The woman is made to nurture the home. And if you pursue politics and you lose your children, you have yourself to blame. That's why it seems as if when a woman is in politics, you run 10 yards or 10 feet, you go back to look at your family to see what is happening there. Because if you abandon them, you have yourself to blame. In the end, you will regret it. So I don't think that our women have been given the opportunity.
What do you think is the roadmap for women to, better their lot?
I think this 35% affirmative action, if we will start from there. And so some people will agree with me, but I don't mind. If they say 35%, every party will say 35%, give it to women. Don't encroach into that 35%. Use your 75% men. Let women come out with that 35%. That's the only way. Because if you say 35% and then during primaries, you do your meetings at night and the women will not be there. During campaign, thuggery, killing, maiming, no woman would like to be part of thuggery and so on. So there is no level playing ground for women to come in. That's why I'm proposing that 35%, give it to women. If they want to pick and choose, fine. If they will do it amongst women, let them do it and let it be. Anywhere we go, 35% of women are there.
Okay, you've gotten to the peak of your profession. Today you're a professor at the University of Nigeria. But again, even with all that, you're still striving to improve yourself. And I'm tempted to ask, what are you pursuing? When you got married to Zik, everybody was like, oh, she should be contented. You wanted to improve yourself. You didn't want to be under his shadow. Today, you're a professor. You have a PhD. You still want to go to Harvard. You're still writing papers. What is driving you? And where are you going?
I am not pursuing anything now. I think what I'm trying to do is just to keep myself going until the last day. I can say I wouldn't work. I'll be able to feed myself. I thank God my children are all doing very well in their careers. They are not dependent on me. All I think I will do now is to take care of my grandchildren, 6 of them, and by the grace of God, I still have more. I think as long as one is alive and breathing, you can't just cross your hands and lie on the bed and then I'm still strong, you know. I'm not sickly. I'm still mentally alert, so I can't find myself sitting down doing nothing. And I don't think all I'm trying to do after retirement, I retired in February after making 65 years. I just want to keep my life going, keep myself busy. You know, when you are idle and doing nothing, the nerves, the bones, you know, they get bad, weak. I'm still young and mentally alert to do more for the nation. Not that I'm going there for money. I think I'm going there to make name, to add value, to at least give back to the society. It's not what to make from the society, just to give back to the society.
What is going to occupy you in this new life that you're going into? You are retired. What is going to take your attention? Are there campaigns you want to pursue?
Yes, well, I have an NGO for widows. It's called Widows Lifeline. And the objective is to take care of, help, assist widows and their families and other less privileged Nigerians. For some years now, I've been sponsoring some children, scholarship, some primary, some secondary, some university. Even in my church, I'm playing a very significant role in the church. I'm an Anglican, a knight of the Anglican Church. I have also sponsored a priest, you know, training our pastor, and I have in mind training more. I want to open a school, to run a school in my compound at Nsukka. Just so that in the morning I just walk down,
and then mentor little children.
Mentor little, and then the teachers and so on and so forth. I've been advised to apply for contract, you know, in the university. If you apply, then you'll be renewed every year until you get to 70 years, which I have applied. If the VC obliges and then approves the contract, then it will be every other year. I have a program in Abuja. I want to put up Nnamdi Azikiwe housing estate. I've applied to the FCT. The application was approved, so we are waiting for allocation of land. To wherever we are given, we'll try to put up houses. At least from that angle, will help for the housing problem in Abuja. There are other things I want to do, but I have to take it one at a time.
Okay. So let me go back to your life with Zik. What do you think was his guiding principle? What was it that took a rural boy to the United States, brought him back, and took him to the heights of his nation, becoming the first president, and then was a sage all through his life? What was that thing? I mean, in living with him, what was that driving force for Zik?
Helping others, helping people in need. If you read some of his poems, you know, he has 2 books of poems, and I even published the 3rd one. Is it the 3rd? I collated the ones he wrote posthumously and published posthumously. I think the driving force was, how do I improve the lives of people? How do I improve my nation? I want my nation to be as good as whatever we think is the best. He wouldn't want to see anybody. There's a poem he wrote when the neighbor will always be beating the child and the child will be crying. According to the poem, he opened the window and saw the woman beating the child. He wrote a poem on that. Why would you beat a child? And why wouldn't somebody else come in to help the child? He also wrote a poem that he is happy wherever he is. What makes him happy is that people around, those he passed along the street, are happy. I think the driving force was to help others. And Nigeria, his own level of patriotism, I don't think you can measure it with any other one. He didn't come here to make money. He had nothing. He left with nothing. When he passed on, it was a battle for us to pay Owakwe's fees again in US. So he didn't accumulate wealth. He went into politics after he had made it. Not what we have now. You go there to make money. He made money. And that is why I am suggesting before you are elected or go into any, have a profession. You must have a profession so that if you didn't make it, you go back to your profession.
So it won't be do or die.
Yes, it won't be do or die, or I must be there so that I'll be able to eat, and so on and so forth. So Zik was God sent to Africa, to Nigeria.
Did he ever regret not being the chief executive, like an executive president?
One Nigeria. He sacrificed it for one Nigeria, for Nigeria to be one. Because if he had insisted, both of them, you know, all our forefathers, everybody contributed, but nobody will deny that Zik was the leading star in fighting for Nigeria's independence. But when it came to the point that if a group was not favored, then Nigeria will disintegrate, he said, no. I am happy that Nigeria is free. Whether I am the head, there's a poem on that. Whether I am the head or not is immaterial. I'm just happy that Nigeria is free. So it will hurt him. It will be, you know, nobody will, after fighting, walking, others will come and enjoy, and you just become ceremonial. But it didn't affect him at all. He was happy that Nigeria is free.
Did he ever tell you how he felt when the Civil War broke out?
When the Civil War broke out, I think he was not happy the way the Igbos were being slaughtered in the north. And that was why he supported Biafra initially. But I don't know, I wasn't there when things started. He was going around for recognition. He got recognition for Biafra from either Kenya, some of these African countries. Yeah. He was responsible for that. He was going around. Yes, at a point, I feel he felt that things were not moving the way we all came in to support Biafra. And that was why he, according to him, instead of sitting and then seeing Igbos exterminated completely, it's better. He always says it that he who fights and runs away lives to fight another day. And then maybe he has information. Nobody knows. Things were not moving fine. No armory, nothing. Ragtag army. And then those at the top were not telling people the truth. So
that was why he
deflected. Okay. He went to the Nigerian side and started pleading, going to Leopold Senghor, you know, how do we now make peace and so on. I don't want my people to be exterminated, to die.
Okay, Zik loved to help people. That sustained him. What sustained you? What was the principle behind your struggle, your hunger to improve yourself?
I wanted to measure up to Zik's wife. And also my father was my parent in short. My father went to the top in his career, Sergeant Major. In those days it was something. So I just want to, when they see Mrs. Azikiwe, they'll know that this is Mrs. Azikiwe.
Any regrets?
None at all. I'm happy. None at all. I'm fulfilled. My children, grandchildren, at this age, I'm fulfilled. A professor in Onitsha, I'm a title holder. In the church, I'm a knight. So what else? I'm fulfilled. I'm very happy. No regrets whatsoever.
When you lost him?
Yes.
How did it go?
You know, I told you that we don't go out. 24/7 we are together. So I was just thinking, how am I going to cope? I don't know where they buy the gas for cooking. Nothing, everything was done by this, that, driver, take her, this place, and so on. So I was just thinking, how am I going to cope? Where am I going to begin life again? And
somehow you coped.
very fine. The Lord is good. The Lord is good.
So if I was just a young woman growing up, in very few sentences, what would be your advice to me?
Go to school. Be educated. You never know where you get into, the type of man you will marry. If he doesn't move on fine, you'll be able to take care of yourself and children. Education is it.
I'd like to thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
It's been my pleasure speaking with you.
It's a pleasure too.
And that's our program for today, In Your Own Words, and we've been listening to the words of Professor Uche Azikiwe, a young girl so many years ago, and became the wife of the Great Zik of Africa. She didn't stop there. She went on to come to the peak of her profession and became a professor. Thank you again for coming on our program.
It's my pleasure.
I'm Obiora Ilo. Let's do it again, same time next week.